Okay, guys, let's get right to it. We on episode 11 of Peach Boy Riverside. Now, before I do my review of Peach Boy Riverside, I like to say one thing. um, so yesterday I found the popularity poll for Black Clover, and my boy Asta is ranked second, and my favorite girl in Black Clover, Noelle, is number one. So if you guys look at the popularity poll, the latest popularity poll they did, two of our favorite characters are beloved MC and our beloved waifu is the top. So props for Noelle to be number one. Now, also, and just you could look it on my Twitter or whatever, but I did post it and you should look it up. So anyway, let's erase all that and let's go right into Peach Boy Riverside episode 11. Now here's the thing. What they did in this episode, they kind of jump back. They jump shift towards this moment where we're gonna see like, okay, the stars are aligned this episode, and next week's episode is gonna be the closing moment. So in other words, this mid part of these mid parts of the last two episodes, 11 and 12, is gonna be the epicenter of the closing moment of the closing episode. In other words, the middle episodes is gonna be the end of an episode. You know what I mean? That's how it's gonna be. Now, this episode did have some foreshadowing. It's nothing bloody, like everyone known. It had a bloody moment at the end, but still, towards the end, but still, it got a lot of foreshadowing, and all the episodes kind of make sense at times. So that did it. So without further ado, let's get right to the review of episode 11 of Peach Boy Riverside. You know, after long and luscious episodes, Winnie the Witch made her debut. And the reason I said that is because if you recall a few weeks ago, when Hawthorne was fighting Todoroki, Winnie the Witch appeared. Now, this is where it's different. You see, Winnie the Witch, and she looks fine by the way. Winnie was she appeared on the scene saving Hawthorne. But if you guys remember a few weeks ago by the way, I think it's like episode 5 or 6, somewhere like that. Hawthorne mentioned a witch, and they took her to the fort, and they took him to Winnie's house. That how the episode ended, and then they jumped towards this episode. So that episode, not in a chronological order, but that episode number where Hawthorne introduced Winnie to them, that was supposed to be that next week's episode. And that's how we got to this, where Hawthorne mentioned Winnie and introduced himself. So that was Winnie's debut at that time. That was supposed to be the debut. So, like I said, so basically Winnie the Witch, this episode 11 was supposed to be her debut. Not the one where she saved Hawthorne. That's different. Okay. So Winnie, looking good by the way. Sally wants to do some magic. Sally needs to learn magic. I mean, like with all her companions, you see, I think having magic to me is the best idea to have. I mean, she already gone crazy with her peach eye ability, so I think having magic with her would be somewhat of a big development. By the way, I mean, you got Hawthorne who's good with swordsmanship. You got Fodder who's already who's already a badass with a new mallet and with devil powers, and you got Carrot who's trying to like not be a spy, but her eye is doing something, and I don't think she's gonna put a lot. I think she put a lot of effort. And then you got Sally who's just a killing devil. By the way, I mean with her peach eyes, she needs to learn something else, and that's me magic. Okay, so when he's like, okay, on 3 conditions, you gotta keep it a secret, you gotta pay 1 million, and you gotta follow my orders completely. No matter how bad it is, you gotta do it. Now, Sally don't have the magic or whatnot, so basically the beginning was just them training on all this. And Faru, here's the thing about Faru, by the way. Faru knows Winnie. It's been 3 years, they said. It's been 3 years since they worked. It's been 3 years since they worked, since they know each other. And I'm like, wow, it's been 3 years. I mean, what is Faru's connection to Winnie? And what is Faru's connection to the angel? That's the thing. I know I want to read the manga, and I'm not going to read it yet. I don't mind spoilers. I don't mind spoilers at all. I mean, I'm just I don't mind it. I know how the episodes was all scrambled away, but again, I don't mind the spoilers. But I just wait. It's something about Father that knows these connections really well with the angel and this Father, by the way. I mean, with knowing the angel and Father knows the witch. It's really good. It's really good to see that, and so I'm really looking to see that. Now, back to what I was saying. Sorry, my voice is because uh something happened last night. I didn't have the energy to go up here and do the video, but I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, so Sally wants to learn swordsmanship, so she learned from Hawthorne, the best swordsmanship in that kingdom. Winnie told Hawthorne about the ideal of she's a devil, the way how she did that war is, and because he wasn't there at the time. So when she showed Hawthorne who she really is on the inside, as a devil. Inside, kind of like how you see in anime when they call like, oh, here comes Naruto, but inside of him he's a devil. You know what I mean? Like Asta's a demon. That kind of thing. We get that. We get the concept of it. Okay. So in that raid, Hawthorne just sweep the leg like some karate kid. Sweep the leg. Boom. Now, and then it was nice to see. It was nice to see. What's her face? Oh, Winnie recognizing that the grandparents taking care of Hawthorne, like it was a nice. Now, this is where it gets a little hectic. This is where it gets a little like, oh, wow, we're getting something crazy now. So after all that training that they doing, we get these two folks here. They got the elves, the elfman, and the lizard folk, and they need help. They need help from Winnie to stop this massive tree ogre out of nowhere, and they need, Sally and I are part of it, but Winnie let the group join. Now, here's the thing. We're talking about race here. The whole thing is about race. In this fantasy world of Peach Boy Riverside, it is 100% about race. In other words, the elves, the head elf, doesn't care about the lizard folks. They could rather die. Now, Sally, on the other hand, this is Sally we're talking about. Through this mixed jumbo scrambled episodes, Sally is trying to make peace with the world. It's not easy for Sally. She's seen a lot of humans disrespecting demi-humans. Anytime they see a nice ogre, they freak out. And again, I said nice ogre. And like I said, and with race, it doesn't matter what type of race it is. Every race is so like individually protecting themselves and individually fighting for their own creatures, their own species. When Sally heard about that, Sally's like, are you freaking kidding me? You gonna let them die? But what about the elves? Like, what you gonna do? He's like, I don't care. I don't care. We elves are pride. We don't care if the lizard folks die. They're just doing us a favor. And this is what pisses off Sally throughout most of the times, where she sees one race arguing with another race and seeing them what they do with them. That's the problem. And Sally doesn't like that. That's why she gets mad anytime that there's a problem with this kind of idea. So here comes the trio coming up, but then you see Hatsuki come in play. Now, this is where they meant by foreshadowing. This is where the foreshadowing comes in play, guys. And again, foreshadowing. Okay, let's do a flashback from previous episode. Remember Hatsuki, that girl with the the girl with the blonde hair, nun girl who kind of like Flair from Fairy Tale when she used her hair, or Miller Rage. Okay, remember foreshadowing. Remember a few weeks ago when Mikoto was on his journey on his own, and then he sees Hatsuki in the forest. You see what that kind of entwine? You see that little, you see that gap? You see that huge gap? This episode kind of explains the foreshadowing gap on how Hatsuki was in the forest. You know what I mean? And because if you recall, a few weeks ago, Hatsuki had a dream. And that dream was her getting crushed by Sally, and the fact that she met the tree ogre, the tree oni. All those questions that were from previous episodes is now this, because now it all makes sense. Why she was dreaming about Sally and what it had to do with the connection with the trio girl. Everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. Okay, now the trio girl. I see where this is going in the direction of this episode. I mean, literally, Sally is trying to make peace. She's like, elf Harry, call him Hisaki, Harry, Trioger. Okay, let's make peace. Let's make peace. That's the whole thing about this. They're trying to make peace. Now, that's Sally's part. That is Sally's part. Just trying to make peace with everybody. I mean, again, she's trying, and I don't blame her for trying to make peace. But in a situation like this, and I see where this is going, they're gonna make these last two episodes the climax of this. They're gonna make these last two episodes the climax, and that's what Sally's gonna do, trying to make peace with everybody in these last two mid episodes. And I call it mid episodes because the finale already happened. It already aired when they go into the kingdom. That was that. But besides that, Makoto, he only had one screen time, and he did. Like, most times we see Makoto on a screen time, but this time he had that one simple cutscene. I mean, one simple screen time. All he was doing was walking. He was walking by himself. And that, it's funny how Makoto gets mistaken for being a girl. I don't know why. I get it. It's the long hair. I get that. I get it. But damn, don't underestimate Makoto like that. So when this tall ass one eye Oni, this tall ass buffed up One Punch Man Oni saw a traveler, he's like, oh, so she's just a girl. I'm just hungry. I'm just gonna eat this. And then all of a sudden, never judge a book by its character. And just like that, soon as he went down, thought he was a simple lone traveler. Head chopped off. Oh, that was it. Makoto did his work. I mean, it was just one simple. He's like, oh, I was just walking, and this toe could just come shamelessly trying to walk in behind me. No. And then the connection. Then like, oh, you're the demon hunter. So we'll see how that goes. But again, Sally's trying to make peace with every creature now in this battlefield that's going right now between the elves, the elf folk, Harry, and the tree folk. I can see what they're trying to make it right now. So let's see what Sally's gonna do in this mid-ending episode of Peach Boy Riverside for this week and next week. But like I said, this episode was good. I mean, it's not like what we expected. I mean, I know a lot of people expected blood or anything, but it's kind of like this episode 11 did point out the answers from previous episodes that happened in the Peach Boy Riverside. Not in a chronological order, but at least it kind of explained all the answers, like how Hatsuki got the dream about Sally and the tree ogre. How did Winnie the Witch, Winnie made her debut. This episode was supposed to be her debut, because if you're, like I said, if you remember a few weeks ago, Winnie saved Hawthorne from Todoroki, and you gotta know like how they met. Okay, this was the episode of her debut. That's the thing. And again, a lot of foreshadowing this one, because, well, it was a foreshadowing for Hatsuki, because remember, Hawthorne was on a journey, and then Naruto was on a journey, and then he sees Hatsuki in the forest. So all those answers that was given away in a mess up order is now this episode. So we put this episode with this. That makes a lot of sense. Now, like I said, next week, the last two episodes is going to be like the mid answers, like the mid conclusion of this, for next week's episode. So let's see how that goes with Sally trying to make peace, and let's see what that episode continue with it. So again, this was a good episode, not as hype, but it was all answers was answered. So tune in next week's episode of Peach Boy Riverside, and let's see the dramatic conclusion of this. And I said it sarcastically, the dramatic conclusion of Peach Boy Riverside.